there, it's Kimberly Lucht, and I'm a business coach and energy healer for entrepreneurs who want to make money and magic doing what they love. And so if that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. And today I want to talk all about the creative process and what works for me, what works for my clients, the things that I've seen work for other people, and also just talk about what is creativity? What is the creation process all about? What kinds of things can we do to make it better, or maybe make it more pleasurable, maybe even orgasmic? And so I want to start with the question: what would it feel like to create and express more fully and orgasmically in your life and your business? What would it feel like to be able to channel in a more open and free way? What would it feel like to be able to feel like, yes, you're creating your best work, you're creating your life's work, you're creating your soul's work? What would that feel like for you? I'm imagining that you think that would feel so satisfying, so fulfilling, so amazing inside, because as humans, we have this innate ability to create. That active creative state is something that I think everybody wants and needs to access regularly throughout their lifetime, to not feel like there's this creative constipation building up in their body and their energetic state. When we're in that active creative state, that kind of flow state on a regular basis, we tend to feel like we're opening up and channeling a lot of energy, and it keeps things moving, right? It keeps things growing and flowing and feeling really good for us, or good for the greater good at the end of the day. It's like you're on this planet for a reason. If you're not creating what you're meant to create in this lifetime, then we're all missing out, not just you, all of us. And when we don't use that ability, when we don't use our capacity to create, a lot of us tend to feel restless, stuck, frustrated, inhibited, like we don't really know why we're here. And so if that's kind of the place that you've been in, or you remember being in a place like that, here are some things to maybe prevent that from happening in the future. And so the first creativity technique that I have for you is to create before you consume. Why is that important? If you're consuming first thing, responding to emails first thing, scrolling on social media first thing, your creative energy starts to kind of dwindle throughout the day. It actually zaps creative energy. That's what I've found, at least, when you're like reading things that aren't yours, when you're, engaging with things that you didn't have any control over and any agency over. It's like your emails and your texts and all these other things that you are checking. Those actually don't feel like it's bolstering your creative energy. I don't think that anybody has ever told me that it feels like, yes, it definitely gets me into a creative state of mind. So, I mean, if it does for you, great, but most people are really not gonna get a zing of creative energy by doing this and being in that passive state of mind. Our brains are less active. I mean, they're still active because, of course, like if we're alive, our brains are active, but they're active in a different way. And I'm sure if you look at brain scans that are, engaging in creative activities versus engaging in consuming activities, you're going to see a major difference. You can Google this. Maybe there's some studies that are already out there. I'm sure there are, but for the purposes of right now, we're just going to imagine that that is true, and imagine that maybe a creative energy state of mind is going to be like boom, 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 like maybe like nightclub, dance floor, lights pumping, and like like really like in the flow and just going. And then consuming energy might be more like, okay, like I'm here, I'm alive, I'm open to, information coming in, but I don't feel as creative as maybe like this state of mind. I'm gonna ask you to just stay aware, stay open, and notice, just notice. What does it feel like if I'm creating first thing, and what does it feel like if I'm consuming first thing? My invitation for you is, instead of consuming first thing, maybe you actually create something first thing if you have your phone right next to you when you wake up. Now, there's a lot of things that you could do. You could create a meditative state. Maybe instead of going on the news or scrolling through social media or texting all your friends back, maybe you create a meditative state by listening to some music that's going to get you into that meditative open state. Maybe you open up your notes app and just write down some things that you're thinking about, or things that you're thinking about creating, maybe some goals or some ideas that have come into play. And that's a small shift away from the scroll that I think many of the people that I know can fall into. And for those of you who do fall into that, it's like, okay, let's see if there's maybe a way to shift it. You're still on your phone, but maybe there's a way to shift it into something that's creating something for the day, whether that's an energetic state, some words, maybe even you're drawing in like one of those drawing apps. There's so many ways to create, writing or speaking or dancing or playing. And the reason why this is really important is because throughout the course of the day, our creative energy goes down anyways, but in the morning, it's so abundant, it's so alive and within you. It's this innate ability to create that keeps us alive. Creativity technique number 2 is to have a regular creativity practice. So what happens if you don't do this? I actually just had a session with my group clients where things were coming up around, like I don't have, as big of an audience as I want, or, I don't know if I have the time to create consistently, or I don't know what the message is about. And my guidance is usually always create something anyways. Why? Because when we are creating, we get into this solutions-oriented and possibilities-focused mindset where we're like, okay, maybe I could talk about this, or maybe I could channel this, or maybe I want to like talk about this experience that I had, a few weeks ago. And getting the channel open requires you to sit down, even if you're not inspired, even if you're not, I have this idea channeling through me, even if you don't have inspiration just exploding out of you. My request and my advice is for you to sit down and do the creative practice anyways, because inspiration begets inspiration. When you cultivate that energy more often, more will come from that. Think about it in terms of physics too. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. And so if your, wheels are turning and you're sitting down regularly to dance, paint, play, create, sing, write, channel, whatever it is for you, then it's gonna most likely turn into a regular, consistent practice that turns into then a habit that just ends up eventually basically running on its own. Like, yes, you have to put in the effort to still sit down or stand up and do the thing, but there's all this momentum behind you that's helping and propelling you forward so that you can do the thing more regularly and more easily and more consistently. There's something about inspiration that I just needed to address with this group of clients. And it's like, sometimes the inspiration comes after the fact. It comes after the completion of the creative task. And so sometimes we have to be a little more patient with inspiration. Maybe it won't hit you until maybe the middle or the end of a creative endeavor. And that's okay. It's okay to not feel totally inspired, when you're about to do something creative. For example, today, I started YouTube recording and I'm like, hey, like I don't feel the hit of inspiration yet. And I'm like, right now, I'm like, zoom. We're like talking about creativity and inspiration and it's just like all over the place in my body and I feel it. But of course, when you're getting ready and you're like, getting all the moving parts in place, like maybe you need your laptop or your phone or some sort of microphone or a camera or lighting or makeup, hair, and all these things and all these moving parts. But when you get into it and when you really get into the flow state, that's where you can find the magic. It's not out here and like waiting to come to you. No, it's waiting for you to sit down and do the work. When you're doing creative work that excites you, the inspiration, even then, might not hit you until you're right in the middle of it or right at the end. And that fulfillment is priceless. It's something that I think really helps to get the creative energy moving and prevent you from feeling creatively constipated. And so creativity technique number 3 might be my favorite. Make creativity orgasmic. And so what does this mean? When you think of an orgasm, what do you think of? A release of energy, a release of maybe some pressure, a release of some tension building up. Maybe that's something that you've experienced after creating something or after being in the creation process, is that at the end, when you reach the climax of that creative endeavor, you're like, like something inside you is just like looking at this piece of art or this work or this writing or this book or this play or this whatever it is, right? This flower arrangement. You're like, look how beautiful, or look how satisfying, or look how amazing this piece of work is. And that fulfillment and that satisfaction is something that feels to me almost orgasmic. It's like this rush of energy takes over your body, and it's something that it's so beautiful to play with when you're in that fully creative and fully flowing state of love energy, which I think all creation is all linked to love anyways. But being in that flow state, being in that orgasmic state of creation, you're just like, wow, like I am fully satisfied, fully complete, fully fulfilled by this creation. And I think a lot of times we feel that way after orgasming or after having an energetic burst, moment, whatever that might be. So how can you get off creatively? How can you bring more orgasmic energy into your creation process? That might look like bringing a little more pleasure into the way that you create. That might look like celebrating at the end of your creation phases. That might look like just finding that energetic flow within you and really tuning in and like, I am creating magic right now, right? And letting your body really show you what to do, letting your body be part of the creation process and be orgasmic with you. Yeah? So this is, of course, maybe a new concept or something that you've never heard about. I honestly have never heard of something like this in my own life, but it's something that came channeling through when I was speaking with my group clients. Like, this can be pleasurable. You can orgasm with your creative energy. There's actually a whole set of orgasms that are energetic, and this is all something that we can tap into, especially if you're a woman. I think that creative orgasmic energy is something that you carry inside. I mean, you have a womb for a reason. There's this reproductive creation energy within you, and I think it actually helps us be more creative in other endeavors too. And so how can we make this feel like a super juicy, pleasurable, orgasmic practice? Instead of a chore or something like, atomic habits or something that you just need to do. This is an opportunity for you to deepen in your orgasmic, pleasurable energy. And so if you like the sound of that, go ahead and find a way to integrate and pull that in. It could be with some, movement. Maybe you start your creative practice with some movement. Maybe you start your creative practice with breath work or meditation. Maybe at the end of your creative practice, you do some sort of juicy spirals or rolls to be like, yep, like that feels complete. Maybe your focused and channeled flow state feels orgasmic and pleasurable to you. So finding those edges, finding those places to move the energy around as you're creating. It's not something that I want you to think about logically. It's something that I want you to just tune into and channel into with your body mostly, but also with your energy. How can I make this pleasurable? How can I make this orgasmic? Those are the questions that I want you to ask when you're engaging in creativity. And so I really hope that this helps you create more and create more orgasmically. It feels like, yes, we want to produce, but it's more so we want to create magic. We want to create things that feel good. And so I hope that this helps you do just that. And just to recap, here are the 3 creativity techniques that I mentioned today. Number 1, create before you consume. Number 2, develop a consistent creation practice. And number 3, make creativity feel orgasmic, pleasurable, juicy, enjoyable, because that's really what's gonna make it feel like something you want to do, something that you want to express, something that you want to engage in. And there's one bonus question that I wanna throw in around this, and it's how will you allow yourself to rest and restore after your creative orgasm is complete? Because I think rest and creation can really feed each other, and it's something that I want you to also play around with. It's like both can feel orgasmic, both can feel pleasurable, and we want to bring them in regularly so that we feel like we're both fulfilled and satisfied and also not burning out, right? So I want to leave you with that. I hope that you are able to create more fully, more openly, more expressed, more orgasmically. I hope you create so many beautiful things now and that it just like is surging through you and you're just like, yes, I can't wait to create and play. I hope that that's the feeling that you feel at this moment in time. And if you want more of this, I invite you to download my Soulful Business Roadmap. It's a free download. The link is down below. And basically, if you want to create a beautiful business that you love and the business of your dreams, you're really going to love that. So click the link below and I'll see you on the inside. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Ciao for now and happy creating. Bye.